So this is both biblically inaccurate and historically inaccurate concerning the practices surrounding Molech. In ancient Judaism and in Judaism today, life begins at breath. They use the words ruach or nefesh, meaning air or wind, and nefesh specifically meaning neck or throat, that the fullness of a being human couldn't happen until breath, and that was carried in their legal law. Adama, the being of Adama or Adam, was not alive until he took breath. And we see this most clearly in Levitical law in Exodus 21 verses 22 to 25, where two men are fighting and a pregnant woman gets hurt. If she gets hurt and she miscarries, then there is a property fine paid to the father who owns the fetus, or if she dies, it's a capital crime. The Exodus clearly draws a designation that the fetus carries property value to the father and that the woman carries the value of human life, i.e. capital punishment. And people manipulate the text and they try to take passages from David and Jeremiah talking about God's plan for them. These things of you knit me together in my mother's womb have no reference on when human life begins. It's meant to designate the special relationship that God has with the author, so that the author has credence and power because God gave it to them. If it applied to everyone, the author wouldn't bother bringing it up because it would mean that they weren't special anymore. What you're actually arguing about this idea of life beginning at conception comes from Greek philosophy. During the Hellenistic period, there were three schools of thought around when does life begin. There was the Stoics that believed that life didn't begin, that the ensoulment of a human didn't begin until breath. There was Aristotelians who believed that it happened at the quickening, or around the area about 24 weeks, longer for women because Aristotle believed that women were simply deformed males and needed longer to bake. And then there was the Epicureans and the Pythagoreans who believed that life began at conception. That was a very new idea that was not held by Judaism, and it was not held by early Christians either. It was later St. Augustine who decided that the quickening was the time that abortion became a sin, and that wasn't changed until 1869 under Pope Pius IX. No, you're completely allowed to have this personal opinion, but it's not biblical, and it also doesn't follow ancient Judaism. This is an argument from Greek philosophy that is neither aligned with science or with the Bible. And if you're choosing to legislate laws based on your religion, even when it doesn't follow your own religious text, you are violating the religious liberties of others, because it does not make sense to say that life has begun when something doesn't have organs yet, and that life to supersede the life carrying it who's putting their life at risk. And Christians and evangelicals throughout history have understood this, but what they have been able to do is hijack your faith and get you to commit to a movement that they needed to win votes and gain power. And regarding the practices associated with Molech was the sacrificing of infants or small children who would have followed the ruach or nefesh of being fully alive because they took breath, therefore designating it an unlawful killing based on ancient Judaism. So if you're going to take this stance, at least be accurate with it. Both the historical practices associated with Molech and the Bible have nothing to do with abortion. It is your gross misinterpretation of a text for an ideological endgame that you already want to play, which means you're not approaching it with honesty and you're not applying it with honesty.